We're rolling up today to Amarillo Dragway. We are here to bust all the myths on the difference between all these Ford powertrain lineups. The 5.0 to the 3.5 to the hybrid to the Expedition 3.5 and the high output 3.5. And the biggest one of all, the Godzilla versus the 6.8 and the high output 6.7 versus the regular 6.7. Well, we're gonna do Ford versus Ford today. The white truck is our standard 6.7. The gray is our high output. So we have 475 horsepower, 150 pounds of torque versus 500 horsepower and 1,200 pounds of torque. The most common question I'm asked, is the high output 6.7 worth the money over the standard 6.7? Is the 25 horsepower and 150 pounds of torque worth it? Let's find out. I was very surprised at the result of that last race. I really thought I was going to have Seth in the high output. He beat me 2 times in a row. We'll look at the stats, but let's see what we got up next. We have the Godzilla 7.3 and the 6.8. 6.8 is only an engine on the XL trucks, and it's actually gone away for 2027. And we have an exact head-to-head comparison here. Crew cab, long bed, same 373 rear end. We are running them with AC off, traction control off, 4x4 high. We have 430 horsepower versus 405 horsepower, 485 pounds of torque versus 445 pounds of torque. So what's 25 horse and 40 pounds of torque going to do for us? Let's find out. We've had some major upsets already today with both Super Duties gas and diesel. Now we're on the half-ton debate of do we go with the big displacement 5-liter or the small displacement turbocharged 3.5 EcoBoost. On the EcoBoost, we have 400 horsepower, 500 pounds of torque. On the V8 5-liter, we have 400 horsepower and 410 pounds of torque. So major torque difference on the EcoBoost. The big debate is, do I buy this simple V8 without turbochargers for longevity, but can I sacrifice the power you get with the turbochargers and the small displacement 3.5 EcoBoost? Let's see how we do. We're running both of these trucks in 4 high, traction control off, AC off. We have the same gear ratio, same cab configuration, so it should be a heads-up race. So I still have a lot of conventional customers that are just dead set on that V8, and I always tell them that V6 has more power, it tows better, and it feels like it's stronger off the line. Well, let's see in a heads-up comparison who's going to be the winner today. So the EcoBoost definitely dominated the 5-liter V8, but how does the EcoBoost do against the EcoBoost with the hybrid package? So we have an additional electric motor on the transmission that gives us an extra 30 horsepower. So torque is the same, but you've got 30 horsepower gain on that electric motor. Again, we're running in 4-wheel drive, AC off, traction control off. Let's see who's got it. So just as I was expecting, the extra horsepower that electric motor gave us definitely made a huge improvement off the line. So we didn't have to wait for those turbos to spool up and that torque converter lock up. That electric motor gave me just that little push to get out in front, and we gained a few more feet on the quarter mile. But that launch was where I really noticed the difference. There's nobody running faster than mom running late to soccer practice. And if you're looking at Expedition, you may not even know it, but there's now a high output version of the 3.5 EcoBoost. So if you're looking at a Platinum Ultimate package, a trimmer, or a Stealth Performance package, you're going to get that high output. You can't select it to have or not have on any of the other trim levels. So the standard Expedition is just like our F-150, 400 horsepower, 500 pounds of torque. Now when you go to the high output, you get 450, so they're bumping you up 50 horsepower and 510 pounds of torque. It's not quite the Raptor motor, but it's a step towards that Raptor high performance engine you get in the F-150. So on both of these Expeditions, we're running them in the 4-high mode, AC off, traction control off, so we got a head-to-head race. Well, so we had some major surprises today. So let's talk about the Expedition. I think you could notice the extra horsepower and that high output just a little bit. Now, on sticker, it shows 50 horsepower and 10 pounds of torque. But on the track, Seth beat me twice in the high output. I beat him once in the regular. I think it really just had to do to the start. I think he had just a jump on that start. When you're doing a hand start, it's hard to know exactly when to jump, but he got me just a little bit. I got him one time and beat him. So that was a pretty even matchup. So I wouldn't be too concerned with, am I going to miss out on that extra horsepower on the track? Didn't notice a huge difference. Let's talk about the F-150. So that one turned out exactly how I thought. I really knew that this PowerBoost was going to beat it, and it was mainly because that electric motor off the line. You can tell when you drive these, they're definitely peppy off the line. You don't have to pull the turbo up or rev that motor up like you normally do on a gas vehicle. You can just hit that throttle and you instantly feel power. It gives you the excitement of driving an electric vehicle, but then the convenience of having the gas so that you can just fill it up all the time. When you're on the highway, you're not going to notice a big fuel mileage improvement on these, but if you're driving around town and you're utilizing that electric motor, especially the under 45 miles an hour, the PowerBoost is definitely one to look at. Now, people are concerned about the hybrid battery, longevity, cost out of pocket. I'll tell you, we've sold a bunch of these, and I've maybe worked on one battery that was under warranty, but I've yet to have a customer have to pay for a battery outside of warranty. So the product is well tested, tried and true. Don't be concerned about the extra technology. If you're looking for that little extra bit of power, you do a lot of sitting in the truck, so you're gonna be idling a lot, or you wanna save some money driving around town, check out that PowerBoost. Now the V8, this has been a motor we have had in production for a very long time. If you're looking to hot rod something, that V8 has a lot of accessories you can add with superchargers, pro chargers, do some tuning. You can really get some horsepower of that, but on the track, in a stock lineup, it was definitely our lower performer. Now, if you're looking to buy a vehicle and put 200,000 miles on it, that may be an option you want to look at just because it's a naturally aspirated engine. It's simpler because you do not have a charged air cooler. You do not have two turbos. So it's going to be a little bit simpler to work on and simpler to maintain down the road. Now, our big battle today, and meeting right in the middle when we're comparing the V8 to the regular EcoBoost, that regular EcoBoost definitely had it. I have a lot of customers that tell me, oh, John, I'm going with the V8. I can definitely tell it has more power, has more pep. Well, the numbers and the race don't lie. The numbers tell us the EcoBoost has more power, and the race shows us that we're going to win. So the EcoBoost has been out since 2011. We have charged air cooler that we're cooling the air as it goes in, coming from two turbos. So we have a small turbo in each exhaust manifold bank. This is a V6 3.5 liter engine that has gone through several generation updates. And every generation they have added more and more power. For the most part, we've seen better reliability out of those parts as well. But these things are fun to drive. And if you're towing, that extra torque number is really going to help you move that trailer down the road. So if you're looking at towing 3.5 EcoBoost or bump up to that hybrid, get you just a little bit extra power, it's going to move that trailer down the road just a little bit easier. And the biggest upset of the day was the high output versus regular 6.7 and the 6.8 versus 7.3 gas. Let's start on the gas. So we came out with the 7.3 in 2020, and that was was our Godzilla engine. That was basically the upgrade to the 6.2. Then a couple years later, we come out with the 6.8, which is essentially the exact same motor as that 7.3, just a smaller displacement. The 7.3 is essentially like your stroker version of the 6.8. So a little bit longer stroke, a little bit larger bore, but overall, it's basically the same engine. So the horsepower ratings were quite a bit different. We had 25 horsepower on the 7.3, and we had 40 pounds of torque. So I was assuming I was gonna see a pretty big difference, maybe win by a truck's length. We raced this thing 3 times. All 3 times we had the exact same result. It was a very, very close head-to-head race. With the 6.8 here behind me with Seth driving, beat me every time. I was extremely surprised. I was not expecting that. And I think the biggest part of it, it was faster off the line. So getting off that starting line, it had a jump, and that jump was enough, and it maintained almost an exact lead. I wasn't able to catch the 6.8 with the 7.3. Once we got off the line, it was pretty much an exact race all the way to the finish line. And the biggest question I get asked, John, is the 6.7 high output, is the extra power worth the extra money? Well, I get a lot of feedback from customers, and they swear they can feel the power, but maybe it's all up here. We ran this thing 3 times, and all 3 times, Seth beat me by a nose with the regular output 6.7. Now, if you're looking at getting a 2027, you don't even have to worry about it, because the 2027 is only going to come with the high output 6.7. It simplifies production. We're probably going to get a new motor in 2028. We're going to use up the remainder of those parts, make it easy for dealers, and make it easy for you as a customer. Now, the upcharge was around $2,600 for the last couple of years on this high output. Now, when we look at the upcharge on the diesel compared to gas, it appears they actually reduced the price of the high output as the standard option by $1,500. So don't worry that you're going to pay a whole lot more for that diesel. They brought it down, and they met right in the middle. So everybody now is going to get that 6.7 high output.